different 20B1. You didn't check nothing. You entered a check disrespecting our kid. Yeah. I don't know how much disrespect I'm gonna keep taking from from his father. Be honest, bro. Real I asked DDG and G Herbo for advice, cause that about to lose his life. Keep playing with my son.
The entire internet went silent when the Zeus CEO walked into that meeting room, holding a thick white folder, because everyone knew exactly what was inside it, but nobody expected he'd ever show it. Not publicly, not to the crew, not to the board, and definitely not to the people who had been defending Chrisean nonstop for months. But the second he placed that folder on the table, tapped it twice, and said the words, "These are the real results." Every executive froze, because this wasn't rumor, this wasn't speculation, this wasn't he said, she said. This was the DNA test Chrisean never wanted anyone to see, and according to people who were in the room, it didn't just clarify things, it exposed everything. The Zeus CEO didn't hide his frustration either. Sources say he was pacing, sweating, furious, like he'd been sitting on a secret big enough to blow the entire network into flames. And when he finally opened the folder, the first page alone had staff clutching their mouths. He allegedly said, "She tricked all of us, every single one." The room erupted. People demanded explanations. Producers asked if the paperwork was verified. One person even walked out. But the craziest part? This wasn't the only test. There were two. One Chrisean allegedly submitted herself, and the second one, the one the Zeus CEO had, came from a completely different source, and that is where everything flipped, because the numbers didn't match, the dates didn't align, and the signatures told a story nobody was ready for. The CEO reportedly said, "She controlled the narrative. We were all puppets. But now, it's over. And once you hear what the real test revealed, you'll understand why the internet is about to explode." Long before the Zeus CEO slammed that DNA folder onto the boardroom table, long before the executives gasped, long before the internet started whispering about two tests, Chrisean Rock had already built a reputation that made this moment feel both shocking and inevitable at the same time. For months, no, years, Chrisean carried the kind of chaos that made people suspend logic and simply follow emotions. She cried on camera, laughed during scandals, fought on red carpets, prayed in hotels, ranted on live streams, made up, broke up, fought again. She lived publicly, loudly, emotionally, and the world followed. Every single meltdown, every bruise, every tear, every victory, every mistake. She became an entire ecosystem of drama, one that Zeus fed off. Because let's be honest, Chrisean was the Zeus network. The numbers didn't lie. Her clips went viral before the episodes aired. Her fights trended globally. Her name alone could turn any storyline into a tornado. But when the pregnancy storyline began, everything changed. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't a breakup. This wasn't another emotional episode. This was a child, a life, a family, a legacy. And fans, along with Zeus, were invested. But from the very beginning, insiders said something was off. Too many inconsistencies. Too many timeline issues. Too many contradictions between what Chrisean posted, what she said, and what insiders whispered. Privately, producers complained that nothing adds up. But publicly, they let the chaos run. Because chaos meant ratings. Ratings meant money, and Chrisean meant both. The Zeus CEO, though, he wasn't blind. He watched everything. The prenatal appointments that never happened. The sudden hospital photos without context. The mysterious due date shifts. The disappearing doctors. The inconsistent medical paperwork. The times Chrisean said she had tests, but wouldn't show results. And the whispers, that someone else had submitted a test on her behalf. A test Chrisean allegedly claimed came from a private lab. A test Zeus trusted until they couldn't. Insiders say the CEO began noticing something deeply suspicious during contract negotiations. One executive said, The dates weren't lining up, the paperwork wasn't consistent, and every time we asked for verification, she had an excuse. Still, nobody pushed too hard. Why? Because Chrisean was emotional, unpredictable, volatile, and the network was terrified of triggering her into another meltdown that would cost them months of footage, so they walked on eggshells. But the moment everything changed was during a late-night production meeting when a staff member, a quiet one, a background person nobody ever paid attention to, said something that froze the entire room. "I don't think the test she gave us was hers." The room went silent. Then the CEO asked, "Whose was it?" The staff member shrugged. "I don't know, but the ID number isn't hers. It's tied to a different patient." A different patient, a different medical file, a different identity. The CEO stared at the paperwork for nearly a full minute before saying, "Run it again, independently." That single sentence was the match that lit this entire explosion. Because Zeus didn't just run another test, they went through a verified medical source, one Chrisean could not manipulate, evade, or intimidate. They obtained a test behind her back, quietly, legally, scientifically, and the moment the results came in, executives panicked. One insider said, "The entire office felt sick. Everyone just sat there in stunned silence." Another, "People started whispering, 'What do we do? How do we handle this?' Because the second test didn't match the first, not even close. But the bigger problem wasn't the inconsistency. It was what the inconsistency implied. It implied intent. It implied manipulation. It implied Chrisean didn't give the network the real test. Someone else, whether a friend, assistant, random patient, or lab partner, was involved. Another insider claimed the signatures didn't match. The timestamps didn't match. The file numbers didn't match. It was like two different universes. Weeks passed. Zeus tried to keep calm. They tried to get in contact with her. They tried to request clarification without causing a blow-up. Chrisean dodged their calls, missed their meetings, canceled their follow-ups, blocked an executive, and showed up randomly at other times, demanding cameras roll immediately. It was chaos, and Zeus could no longer trust her. During one emergency meeting, a frustrated producer allegedly said, "We need the real truth. I'm tired of guessing." The CEO agreed. He ordered a full investigation, phone records, appointment logs, signature verification, lab communications, even CCTV footage from the lab itself. And what they found was worse than anything they imagined, because the lab footage, which has not been released to the public, shows a woman submitting paperwork at the counter. That woman was not Chrisean. She wore a mask, a hoodie, glasses, but she wasn't Chrisean. When producers zoomed in and enhanced her voice, it matched someone Chrisean was very close to, someone who had been around her during filming, someone who appeared in background clips, someone who fans don't realize was involved at all. But the worst part? This person signed the paperwork using a name that was almost Chrisean's, but not quite. A misspelling, a letter swapped, a middle initial added that doesn't exist on Chrisean's real ID. When the CEO saw this on camera, he allegedly yelled, "She played us. She tricked the network." But even then, even with all of Zeus's internal chaos, they didn't go public. They needed the real test, so they ordered one, a third, independent, verified, impossible to falsify. And that test, the one that came from a certified source, that was the test sitting inside that white folder on the CEO's desk the day he said, "These are the real results." Because this time, nobody could interfere. Nobody could submit anything on her behalf. Nobody could fake signatures or IDs. This test was pulled through a secure pathway the network had never used before. A pathway that uses legal ID, official records, cross-verification, direct lab oversight, and once they got the results, one executive allegedly whispered, "Oh my God, yeah, she lied about everything." Another said, "How do we even show this? It'll blow up the entire season." The CEO said, "We show it. If she tricked us, she tricked the audience too." But before the CEO revealed anything to the room, he pointed to one specific page inside the folder and said, This is what proves she manipulated the storyline. When he flipped that page around, executives gasped. One covered their mouth, another said, "No way." Another walked out, because that page didn't just confirm inconsistencies, it revealed exactly how Chrisean tricked everyone. Not just Zeus, not just the cast, not just the fans, everyone, including the person the test was actually about. And once you hear what that page contained, you'll understand why the CEO said, "We were all puppets, every single one." The boardroom didn't breathe when the Zeus CEO flipped that page around. Not a sound, not a whisper. Just the air tightening like the truth itself was suffocating the room. Because the page he revealed wasn't a result. It wasn't a percentage. It wasn't a lab conclusion. It was a statement of discrepancy. A formal document labs issue only when they believe someone is trying to manipulate a test. And at the top of the page, written in bold red letters, were the words, "Unable to verify patient identity." Those 4 words alone set the entire investigation on fire, because that meant the independent lab didn't just question the test. They suspected foul play. One executive tried to speak, but only managed, This is fraud." Another muttered, "No wonder the numbers never matched." The CEO didn't blink. He'd been expecting chaos. In fact, he invited it. He tapped the page again. Harder this time. "This is where she tricked everyone." The staff leaned forward as he slid the document across the table, and the deeper they read, the more disturbing it became. The lab report stated that the submitted sample was labeled with Chrisean's name, but the ID number belonged to someone else. The date of birth on one form was wrong. The signature didn't match any previous medical documents. And the test's chain of custody showed third-party involvement. That term chilled everyone, chain of custody. In DNA testing, that refers to the documented trail showing WHO handled the sample, from the moment it was collected to the moment it was processed. The document showed 3 signatures in the chain. One was a lab tech, one was a courier. But the third signature was blacked out by the person who submitted the test. The CEO circled it. "This is the problem. This is who submitted her fake paperwork." A producer whispered, "Do we know who it is?" The CEO smirked bitterly. "We do now." Because scattered throughout the folder were screenshots, emails, messages, appointment logs, and internal notes that showed exactly how Chrisean orchestrated the deception. She didn't do it alone. She didn't even do most of it. She used someone who had access, someone who had knowledge, someone who knew how labs work, and that person was all over the paperwork if you looked close enough. But before the CEO revealed the identity, he told the story of how Zeus uncovered it. It began with a rejected insurance verification form, a form the lab sent back because the information didn't match their database. The lab had written, "Patient information appears inconsistent with prior records." But the key line was the next one. Suspected impersonation. Verification required. Impersonation. That meant someone pretending to be Chrisean or pretending to represent her medically. And that's when executives realized something was deeply wrong. Zeus cross-referenced the lab's timestamps with their filming schedule and discovered something shocking. Chrisean was on camera at the exact time she supposedly submitted the form to the lab, meaning there was no physical way she did it herself. So who did? That's when everything shifted, because staff remembered someone, a person always hovering, always helping, always speaking for Chrisean, leaving the set early that same day, a person who Chrisean always trusted, a person who handled her purse, her phone, her paperwork, a person who was seen whispering with her before every appointment. Insiders said they were everywhere together every single day. That person was a woman named V, a low-profile assistant who fans barely noticed, but production knew very well. V handled everything for Chrisean. Her calls, her bookings, her IDs, her paperwork, her emergencies. And the biggest red flag? V was the only person besides Chrisean who knew about the first lab in the first place. When executives dug deeper, they found footage, security camera footage from the clinic, showing a woman matching V's height, hairstyle, and mannerisms, signing the lab documents while wearing a mask and oversized hoodie. She kept her head down, she rushed, she avoided eye contact, but the investigators zoomed in on the signature she left on the counter's digital pad. A shaky, messy signature. A signature that was not Chrisean's, but also wasn't the random patient. It was V's. The CEO looked around the room and said, "That's how she tricked us. She never submitted her own test." The room trembled. One exec murmured, "But why? Why go through all this trouble?" The CEO answered, "Because she wanted to control the story. She wanted to choose when and how the truth came out, or if it ever came out at all." But then came the first major twist. The CEO pulled out a second stack of papers. These documents were stamped and verified. These were the real test results, the ones Zeus obtained legally and independently, and according to an insider who later leaked what happened next. When he opened the real test, the room collapsed emotionally. People were stunned. A few were crying. It was that bad. The real results didn't match Chrisean's claims. They didn't match her timeline. They didn't match the story she sold the world. They didn't match the test she submitted. They flipped the entire narrative. But the CEO refused to let anyone see page 3. The most explosive page, the one with the actual percentages, the one that revealed the true identity story Chrisean never wanted public. Instead, he slid page 3 inside a locked envelope and said, "We're not releasing this yet. The fallout would be catastrophic." But someone in the room, someone angry, betrayed, humiliated, snapped a blurry photo of the envelope. And that blurry photo leaked. Not the contents, not the numbers, not the identity, just the envelope. But what fans noticed instantly, the label. Written across the envelope in bold letters were the words, "Disputed Paternity Review." The internet exploded, "Disputed Paternity Review." Every storyline, every rant, every claim, every argument Chrisean made publicly suddenly seemed questionable, and Zeus wasn't even done yet, because the CEO then revealed a detail that shook the room harder than anything else. The real test wasn't the only shocking part. There was something even worse, something buried in page 4, something the CEO called the part that proves she tricked everyone, not just us. And according to insiders who later spilled the tea, page 4 wasn't about the baby. It was about the mother, her identity, her records, her medical history, her paperwork inconsistencies. And when executives read page 4, they realized Chrisean never misled them with a fake test. She misled them with something much bigger. Her entire story had a hole in it. A lie so deep, so strategic, so unbelievable that Zeus didn't know whether to expose it or bury it. One producer whispered, "If the public finds out, she's finished." Another said, "This is bigger than DNA. This is character assassination she did to herself." And the CEO said the line that became legend. This wasn't a mistake, it was a plan. But the twist, the plan wasn't hers. Someone else orchestrated everything. Someone with access, someone with motives, someone who benefited from the lie, someone who fans never suspected. A shadow figure in her circle, a person whose name appeared in the lab logs, a person the CEO circled with a red pen and said, "This is who told her to trick everyone." And when that name leaked, the internet shattered. The name the Zeus CEO circled wasn't random. It wasn't a side character. It wasn't an assistant or a stylist or some mysterious lab employee nobody had heard of. It was someone the executives knew, someone the cast had met, someone who had floated around Chrisean for months like a shadow no one paid attention to, a name that, once spoken aloud, made every producer stare in disbelief. Ronnie Doe. Not the man from her past, not the man from the streets, not the man fans assumed his identity was. No, the real Ronnie Doe, the one who never went public, the one who stayed behind the scenes, the one who had been advising Chrisean secretly throughout the entire pregnancy storyline, And according to the documents the CEO held, Ronnie was the one who told her to fake the test. The boardroom lost it. One executive slammed the table. Why would she listen to him? Another asked, what does he gain from this? A producer whispered, oh my God, this explains everything. Because Ronnie wasn't just some random figure in her life. He was central. He was the one who kept appearing in the background of events, the one who handled her schedule when she was overwhelmed, the one who mediated when she fought with production, the one who whispered advice into her ear before scenes, the one who became her emotional shoulder whenever things spiraled. And according to the leaked text messages now inside the CEO's folder, Ronnie didn't just support her, he guided her, manipulated her, coached her, planned around her, and, when necessary, used her. But the most damning part, he had a financial motive. Inside the folder was a printed message, blurry, partially redacted, but still readable. We need to control the narrative. If Zeus gets the real test, we're done. We, not you, not I, not them. We, as in the decision wasn't made by Chrisean alone. It was teamwork. She and Ronnie were in this together, covering something up. But what exactly were they covering? What truth were they so desperate to hide that they were willing to fake entire medical forms? The CEO turned the page. Behind it was something even more shocking, a copy of a payment receipt. Not from Chrisean, not from Zeus, not from any doctor. It was from Ronnie himself. A $4,500 transfer to a third-party testing courier dated the same day the fake paperwork was submitted. A producer grabbed their head and whispered, they bought a slot in the lab queue, meaning Ronnie paid to fast-track the fake test, paid to make it look legitimate, paid to ensure the forged paperwork moved through the system smoothly. This wasn't sloppiness, this was a well-planned operation. And Ronnie wasn't the mastermind, he was the executor. Because the next document in the folder revealed the true mastermind behind the entire scheme. Someone Chrisean was terrified of disappointing, someone she had deep emotional ties to, someone with influence over her decisions, her finances, her storylines, and her personal life. Someone who had a reason to keep the truth buried. At the bottom of the page was their name, written clearly, boldly, unmistakably. K-Rock, Chrisean's own family member, not her brother, not her father, not her cousins, her mother. The room froze. The CEO tapped the name with a trembling finger. This is who told her to trick everyone. Producers choked on their breath. Executives exchanged horrified looks. One whispered, her own mom. But the evidence was overwhelming. Screenshots, messages, voicemails, recorded calls obtained legally through production access. Every piece filled in the gaps. And it painted a horrifying picture. Chrisean's mother pressured her into faking the test. Why? Because the real DNA would reveal a truth the family didn't want the world to know, a truth that would ruin upcoming opportunities, a truth that would jeopardize financial deals, a truth that would expose personal secrets tied to the pregnancy timeline. One executive read aloud a voicemail transcript included in the folder. You better not let them embarrass you. Use the test I told you to use. Don't be stupid. The room erupted. Chrisean wasn't acting alone. She wasn't the planner. She wasn't the manipulator. She was the one being controlled, just like insiders had warned for months. Her mother and Ronnie orchestrated the fake DNA submission together. But here's where the escalation took a horrifying turn. The real test, the one Zeus obtained independently, revealed something so shocking that even the CEO struggled to speak when he explained it. According to multiple insiders who later leaked details, the real test didn't match who Chrisean publicly named as the father. It wasn't even close. But that wasn't the biggest shock. The real shock was the second column on the test. The maternal identity verification failed too, meaning the lab couldn't confirm she was the biological mother. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the CEO like he had lost his mind. A producer whispered, "That's impossible." But it wasn't, because the test flagged mismatched medical markers, inconsistent prenatal history, missing genetic identifiers, irregular timelines, conflicting delivery records, and the lab listed a possible explanation. Sample does not match expected maternal markers, potential sample switching, or fraudulent medical documentation detected. The CEO closed the folder slowly and said, "Everything about her story is a lie. Everything." This wasn't just about a father. It was about the entire pregnancy, the timelines, the hospital visits, the medical documents, the baby photos, the signatures, the prenatal claims. Everything had inconsistencies that implied a coordinated deception. Executives were in shock. One said, "Does she even realize how deep this goes?" Another, "This could destroy her completely." But the CEO said the line that changed everything. She didn't lie alone. Someone else built the lie for her. And then he played a recording from Ronnie, a recording he didn't know was captured. In the audio, Ronnie says, "If the network finds out, they'll expose all of us. We can't let them have the real test. We can't let them know who the baby belongs to." And the voice in the background, Chrisean's mother whispering, "We control the story, not them." The boardroom broke. People stood. People cursed. People cried. People panicked because Zeus wasn't dealing with a celebrity scandal. They were dealing with a conspiracy, a family-led cover-up that involved forged documents, fake tests, swapped records, and an identity truth so massive that Zeus had no idea how to release it without blowing the entire world apart. But the twist? The very last page in the CEO's folder wasn't a document. It was a photo Zeus obtained from the real lab. And when the executives saw who was in the photo handing over paperwork, they gasped louder than ever before, because standing next to Ronnie in that lab lobby was a man nobody expected, a man Chrisean used to be very close to, a man she publicly disowned, a man she swore she cut off forever. Her own brother, meaning the entire family, Ronnie, her mother, and now her brother, all took part in the deception. But the real cliffhanger, attached to the photo, was a handwritten note from the lab. "We believe the final truth is bigger than a DNA test. Recommend legal intervention." The moment the Zeus CEO's meltdown hit the grapevine, long before anything went public, rumors started leaking like a burst pipeline. A producer told a blogger told a TikToker told their close friends. And by the time the story reached Twitter, everybody had a version of the truth. But nobody, not a single person, had the full truth. Still, it didn't matter. The internet went into absolute hysteria. Within hours, multiple hashtags exploded. Chikr Chrisean DNA, Zeus exposes her, Jirani Do scheme, Chikr who is the real father, Chikr family, cover up, Zeus knows everything. Millions of posts flooded timelines. People who had supported Chrisean through every fight, every meltdown, every heartbreak, suddenly didn't know what to believe. One viral tweet said, "If the lab couldn't confirm she's the mother, what is going on?" Another, "Her whole family involved? This is a movie." A third tweeted, "Not Ronnie and her mama and her brother. This is some organized fraud." But the reactions weren't just online. People inside the entertainment world started talking too. An actress from a Zeus show posted, "We been knew something was off, but this is insane." A well-known rapper wrote on his story, "I told y'all years ago she was being controlled by them people around her." A reality TV star tweeted, "The network got the real results. Y'all go see." And that tweet alone caused a meltdown. Fans demanded answers. Supporters accused the network of framing her. Critics said they had been right all along. But the conversation didn't stay one-sided. It split into three major camps. Camp 1, Zeus is lying to ruin her. These fans believed the network was manipulating the narrative because Chrisean was too uncontrollable. They tweeted things like, "Zeus wants to paint Chrisean as crazy to get rid of her. They trying to destroy the only star they got. Y'all believe a lab over a mother? Sick." This group was emotional and loud, but then came Camp 2. Camp 2, Chrisean's family been shady. This group believed everything. These people said, Her mom always been messy. I'm not surprised. Her brother involved too. Yeah, they did this. This explains every timeline issue. These fans were digging up old interviews, old IG lives, old arguments, piecing together patterns. One thread with 4 million views said, Chrisean admitted on live her family always trying to get something out of her. Now this? Someone else commented, the real father might not even know he a father. This is wild. But the third group was the most dangerous of all. Camp 3, the baby might not even be hers. This group didn't want drama, they wanted the truth. And the lab's maternal identity discrepancy comment sent them spiraling. People began dropping theories. Surrogacy, switched records, fake pregnancy arc, borrowed medical files, hidden baby for storyline. One influencer made a video saying, if the real test couldn't confirm she's the mother, that means the papers are fake. That video hit 10 million views in a day. Others posted she was never showing properly. The hospital pics were weird. She hid the belly for too long. Speculation was out of control, but the industry reaction was even worse because Zeus is a small network with loud drama, and other networks love watching Zeus burn. A producer from VH1 anonymously said, they're panicking. This scandal is bigger than anything they've handled. Someone from Netflix tweeted a cryptic emoji, and that alone caused another explosion online. But then, the first insider leak hit the blogs. A staff member who claimed to be at the meeting sent a DM to a huge gossip page. The real test didn't match anything she claimed. The gossip page posted the screenshot publicly with the caption, "Y'all, the tea is hot and boiling." Millions of people watched. More insiders came forward. One said, her mom pushed the fake paperwork. Ronnie paid for the courier. Another, her brother was at the lab. He signed something. A third, Zeus got recordings, real recordings. That last claim broke the internet. Recordings. Of who? Chrisean, her mother, Ronnie, the brother. People demanded answers. A fan tweeted, drop the recording, stop playing. Another, this is worse than the Blueface stuff. Then someone added, this could go federal. And they weren't wrong, because when the story spread far enough, it reached the last place Chrisean expected, journalists. A well-known culture reporter tweeted, if DNA paperwork was forged, that's a crime. Another journalist wrote, Zeus might be forced to go public with the results soon, too much pressure. Even bloggers who usually stayed away from Chrisean's private life jumped in. One wrote, the real father storyline is about to implode the internet. Another, this is bigger than drama. This is identity fraud. But then something happened that changed everything. A new burner account, one nobody had seen before, posted this. Page 4 wasn't about maternity. It was about who paid for the baby's care. Fans freaked out. Who paid? Ronnie, her mother, her brother, the real father, a random man, a donor, a medical sponsor. The account posted again, someone else's name is on the medical file. Someone else's name. Fans screamed, who? Drop the name. Stop hinting. But the account went silent. Then, hours later, Marsh, still in the middle of her own scandal, posted a cryptic story. Y'all think Chrisean, the only one who lied. Ilmeo. People connected the dots immediately. Did Marsh know something about the DNA test? Did she know the real father? Did she know the name on the maternity file? Was another entire scandal waiting to spill? But the most terrifying reaction came from someone fans didn't expect, Zeus Security. A former security guard from the network posted, if they release what's in that envelope, the whole state gon' be talking about it. And he wasn't joking, because that's when the final pre-cliffhanger bomb dropped. A journalist received an anonymous email. They didn't post the contents. They only posted one sentence publicly. The real DNA test is not the secret. The secret is why she never wanted it done. Nobody knew what that meant. Nobody knew what was hidden. But everyone knew one thing for sure. Whatever the Zeus CEO found on page 4 Whatever the real truth behind the pregnancy was, whatever Ronnie, her mother, and her brother were hiding, has the power to destroy her entire public identity. And the next part is where everything shatters. The truth didn't explode like a bomb. It leaked slowly, like a crack in a dam. Quiet at first, then violently, overwhelmingly, all at once. Because page 4 wasn't just a maternity discrepancy. It wasn't a typo. It wasn't a lab error. It wasn't something easily explained away. Page 4 exposed a secret Chrisean never thought would see the light of day. A secret Ronnie, her brother, and her mother were protecting for months. A secret the fake DNA test was designed to hide. A secret the courier payment was meant to cover. A secret that had nothing to do with paternity. It had to do with the birth itself. According to insiders who saw the actual report and risked everything to leak fragments of the truth, the real test flagged no corresponding delivery record found for the biological mother. In other words, the hospital where she claimed she delivered had zero record of it. No file, no admission, no chart, no wristband, no discharge paperwork, nothing. It was as if the birth never happened. Executives were in disbelief. One asked, "How is that possible? She posted videos." Another, "There's no way the hospital messed up that badly." The CEO looked sick as he read page 4 aloud. He said the lab included this terrifying line, "Patient identity mismatch suggests alternate maternal source." Alternate maternal source. The room spun. Because that wasn't just suggesting fraud. It was suggesting substitution. One producer whispered, "Do you realize what that means?" Another said, No, she wouldn't. But it was right there. Cold, clinical, undeniable. Chrisean may not have been the one who delivered the baby. And that's when the CEO turned the page over. Not to show results, but to reveal the photo attached to the back. The same photo he had looked at for 48 hours straight before the meeting. The same photo that made him lock page 3 in an envelope. The same photo that made him call legal advisors at 2 a.m. It was a screenshot from the real lab security footage. Standing at the counter, Ronnie, her brother, and next to them, a woman holding a newborn. A woman whose face was blurred, but the timestamp on the footage matched the date Chrisean claimed she had given birth. The executives froze. One woman covered her mouth. Another dropped her pen. A man in the corner muttered, This is a surrogate situation. It has to be." But the CEO shook his head. "Not a legal surrogate, not a hospital-approved surrogate." He tapped the photo. "Look at the bottom left corner." There, barely visible, was a detail nobody expected. The woman holding the newborn had a wristband with a hospital name, a patient ID, and initials that matched someone in Chrisean's own family. The room exploded. Producers shouted, "No way. This is insane. This is criminal. Why would she hide this?" But the CEO wasn't done. He pulled out one last item, a USB drive. He held it up and said, "This contains the phone call that proves everything." Phones dropped, breaths caught. He played a short excerpt. It was a voice message, crackly, rushed, panicked. A female voice whispering, "They said the baby is healthy. Hurry before anyone finds out." Another voice, Ronnie, responded, "We'll switch the papers when we get there. Just get her discharged." And then a third voice, a voice everyone recognized, Chrisean's mother saying, "She can't know we filmed it. She can't know who really delivered. She just needs the baby, that's all." The room went dead silent because this wasn't about paternity anymore. It wasn't about DNA percentages. It wasn't about a fake test. This was about the entire birth narrative being manufactured. A producer whispered she didn't steal a test. She stole a story. And that's when the CEO delivered the final blow. "We believe she didn't give birth. We believe someone else did. And we believe her mother orchestrated the switch." Executives were in shock. Some demanded the footage. Others argued they needed to call authorities. Others suggested burying everything to avoid legal fallout. But the CEO said, "We can't bury this, not anymore. Too many people know. Too much is leaked." The panic was immediate. One exec said, "If this gets out, everyone will turn on her." Another, "This could be federal. There are laws about this, medical fraud, identity fraud." Another, "How do we even release this without ruining lives?" But the CEO wasn't finished. He held up one final document, a short typed statement stamped by the lab. It said, "Biological paternal match confirmed. Biological maternal match unconfirmed. Further testing required to determine true maternal source." True maternal source. The words echoed like a death sentence. And then someone burst into the boardroom, a young production assistant, out of breath, eyes wide. She said 5 words. The envelope photo leaked. The CEO froze, because if the envelope leaked, page 3 was next. All the percentages, all the identities, all the maternal discrepancies, all the paternal disputes, all the evidence, everything. The assistant added, "And bloggers are saying they have the real father's name." Executives panicked. People grabbed phones. People started shouting. People started calling PR teams, lawyers, security. But the assistant wasn't done. She whispered, "There's another leak. Someone posted a clip. A short one." The CEO's face turned white. He asked, "Which clip?" The assistant swallowed hard. "The one from the hospital hallway." The room froze, because that clip was the one clip that proved everything. And whoever posted it wasn't Ronnie, wasn't her mother, wasn't her brother. It was someone on the inside. And the caption on the video said, "The truth starts now. Now that you've heard the truth, the leaks, the recordings, the forged paperwork, the hospital footage, the fake test, the courier payment, the family involvement, the hidden delivery, the real lab report, the hallway clip, and the terrifying possibility that everything the world believed about this baby was part of a much bigger plan. One thing has never been more clear. This scandal is nowhere near finished. Because the moment that hallway clip went live, the entire storyline shattered. The families scrambling, the insiders running, the blogs exploding, the network in full-scale emergency mode. And the most dangerous part? Page 3 hasn't leaked yet. The real father's identity, the real maternal breakdown, the real chain of custody contradictions, the numbers, the percentages, the source, all still locked behind that envelope. But the internet is already unraveling every thread. And when page 3 hits the public, it's going to break everything you thought you knew about this story. So now I need you. Yes, you sitting here right now watching this unfold in real time. I want you to drop a comment and tell me, do you think Chrisean was manipulated by her family, or was she fully involved from the start? Do you believe Ronnie masterminded this, or was he just following someone else's orders? Do you think the woman in the hospital footage was a surrogate, a family member, or someone hired to disappear? And the biggest question of all, should Zeus release page 3 and expose everything to the world? Or is it too dangerous, too explosive, too life-shattering to reveal? Tell me in the comments right now, because your opinion is the fuel that decides what happens next. And listen, if you want to be the first to see the leaked clip, the first to hear the real father's identity, the first to know what was on page 3, hit like, hit subscribe. Turn on all notifications, because the next chapter, the next leak, the next twist, it won't just change the storyline, it will change everything.